Time now for markets, and the latest crop progress report from the USDA tells us planting is starting up. It says only about 2% of the nation's corn crop is in the ground, and Nebraska has yet to have any data reported, but we can expect that to change over the next several weeks. Darin Fessler of Lakefront Futures and Options joined me this week to discuss the bullishness in the market and what we could see going forward.
Well, I think that if you look at the pace of progress as far as planting as a whole here, the conditions are going to be very, very good compared to even if we were thinking 6 weeks ago. So I do think over the next few weeks, we're going to probably see a lot of planters hitting the dirt here over the next week, probably by the weekend if we don't get a tremendous rain in certain areas. But I think we're going to see a lot of progress. I know I spoke to a lot of clients here this week in central Illinois. I know the planters are hot and heavy going as of Monday of this week. They were running hard. So I anticipate this thing to, get off to a really good start here. It doesn't look like the weather pattern is going to be threatening, like we're going to keep the planters out of the fields. I think these guys with the new updated planters that are, more and more guys are getting, we're able to get this crop in a pretty quick fashion. I think that's going to be the case here in 21. And again, I think if you look at the seed bed so far with those rains as a whole across the Western Corn Belt have really, really helped. I think the conditions are going to be off to a really good start.
We've had over a week now since last week's grain stocks and prospective planting reports. How's the market been reacting?
Well, my initial reaction to the planting intentions was, wow. I just kind of had to sit back and I'm like, where are all these acres? And so the biggest thing for me, I look at that bean number, 87.6, and I'm still shaking my head. Where are these acres at, and how are we possibly, even if we have a really high bean yield, and if these numbers are verified, we're going to be throughout the whole year very, very tight on bean stocks. And I think between now and say the end of June, when we have the next planting intentions report or the planting report and then the quarterly stocks, I do think we're probably going to find some acres on both the corn and the beans. If we don't, that's where I think things could still get kind of hairy. Now, I think the market in itself right now, it's comfortable where it's at, given where I think the crop conditions are and how the planting progress will come along here in the next couple of weeks. So not that we can't see higher levels, but I do think you get to the back half of summer, I still think these beans could be pretty wild.
Soybean basis has been climbing too, huh?
Well, and I think that's something the basis is telling you. It's telling you that we do not have the physical beans on the countryside. And again, if you get to, say, Firecracker Day, realistically, how many producers are really going to have any beans left? Or beans have not been spoken for? I think it's out of all the clients I work with across the country, I think it's going to be probably less than 10, maybe 5% are even going to have beans left to even sell. So that's where I think that you get to the July 4th, definitely the back half of July into August. I think these August, November bean spreads could be very, very explosive. I know they're at a big inverse now, but I think they could really start to skyrocket here as the market is trying to convince the Delta producers who planted beans to get those beans out and get them to the market ASAP. Because I think, again, if we are dealing with the type of acres we're dealing with, if we're dealing with the type of supplies we're dealing with, these markets could feel like they're comfortable, like they're not moving. We have all this bullish stuff. Just stay patient here. The real story, I think, is going to play out here later on.
After these types of reports, our minds will often go to how are corn and soybean producers going to be affected, but we need to remember cattle producers too, right?
Well, I'm a big believer. If you're going to have high corn prices, you probably need to have high cattle prices as well too. The Packers are making hand over fist good margins right now. So I look at the trend at where the cattle are currently going. They've been on a very, very nice trend. Do not be surprised if we do see a little bit of setback, a little bit of breather in these markets. Both the fats and feeders have had a pretty good run here, but keep in mind, I think that you're entering that grilling season. People have been tied up for the last year. They're going to get out. They're going to eat the meat. I'm very bullish meat still. And on both the cattle and the hog side, I still think there are some higher levels to come here. but do not be surprised, like I said, to see a little bit of setback till we push a little bit higher to new highs later on this year.
Can you give us an update on where fund positions are?
Yeah, fund positions. Funds are really long corn, long beans, long wheat. They're long a lot of things at this point. That in itself could be a little bit of a threat to this market here if the crop gets off to a good start here. If we get off to a good start, we maybe say, hey, they may take some chips off the table. Not to be surprised there. Again, it comes down, I think, at this point between now at the end of June, we're going to have to continue to use what the USDA is assuming far as yields. And if we have some hiccups there, I would not hesitate to believe that the funds would add record length potentially in the corn complex and potentially beans here if we have some hiccups.
Okay, Darin, really good insight today. Let's end things with any marketing or risk management advice that you'd like to leave us with.
With these current levels and with the margins we have at this point here, we're never out of the market. So if you feel like you need to make some cash sales here to take advantage of these cash prices and board prices, totally fine. You can still take a look at call options or calls to defend that position all the way through November or October on the beans. I still think that is a very, very good position. If you're looking at where a guy probably should be sold, my current rec is about 20%. I'd love to see about 30% both on the corn and beans before the planters roll. Don't know if we'll get it. We're going to stay patient here. I'm still targeting on December corn, 507, 508. It's my next target, and 1320 in November beans.